Welcome back, everybody. So it has been now a couple of weeks since Halloween. I thought we would take a look at the walkthrough that I did and kind of discuss some of the things that I thought worked well and did not work so well, in case you're planning to do your own Halloween party next year and were emulating any of my ideas. We can talk about which one of those were tricks and which one of those were treats. So let's go ahead and take a look at the video. All right, let's go ahead and click on the nighttime tour. Now, first thing we're going to see offhand is this very tall 12-foot Dracula that I got on clearance, which I thought was great, a great deal anyway, but it was so tall that I don't know if maybe the tethers, I think you can kind of see one sticking out right there, were maybe a little too low, but he kept falling and bending in half, and I more often than not had to keep going and sticking him upright. He was at the corner of the yard, so that was kind of a hassle, always having to walk back and forth. So I would definitely not use him again. Unlike this guy, who's the same thing, a 12-foot tall vampire ghost, in the 2-3 years that I've used him, I have never had any problems with him falling over at all. So I don't know what the difference is. I changed the tethers several times on the one that kept falling over, putting them in different positions. They just never worked. All right, here we've got my pumpkin army, which I think works extremely well. It's so easy. It's just some PVC pipe. I'm in a T formation with pumpkin on the top. I put a dollar store string light inside. I haven't even changed the batteries on those string lights since I used them last year. The only thing I would prefer maybe is if they had a timer function so I could leave them on more throughout the month usually. I mean, I put these guys out at the beginning of the month. You can see this one's falling over. I had one fall over here too, but they stood up pretty well. I think the ground was just so soggy this year because it rained for 2 days straight before Halloween. Literally, it stopped right before my party. But anyway, so I could throw a tea light in there, maybe one of those timer tea lights to get it to light up every day. I wish I would have done that because I really like the way they look all lit up. Here in the background, you can see my Headless Horseman. I put a strobe light on him, but he wasn't very well lit. I was a little dissatisfied with that. I did like the way he looked on the bridge, but he kept falling over. I put him out. Usually I don't like to put my expensive props out in advance, but I put him out a week and a half maybe before Halloween just to kind of get the neighborhood excited. And he was fine the entire time. And then Halloween comes and my Headless Horseman guy just kept falling over and over and over. And I kept going to fix him, which was kind of hard because you can't see it, but I chained off the entrances to the bridge so people wouldn't try and walk through and mess him up. So it's kind of hard to get to. So I should have weighted him down. I don't know why I didn't do that to begin with, but I figured for the week that he was up in advance, he had been doing fine, so I wasn't worried, but I should have been. The pumpkin army, again, so easy to use year after year, and it's very creepy looking. This guy kind of got twisted a little bit. This isn't actually part of my pumpkin army. He was one of those scarecrow type guys that I just put on a pole. Now this cut shot, you may remember, is actually from one of my sneak peek videos. It is Pennywise in the window, who's uber creepy. I actually ended up adding Georgie next to him, which you'd see in the Halloween video if you looked real close. But it was too far away. You can't really see him from the street. I mean, he's like 100 feet back. So I just kind of put him in the window to get people excited. Now this scene didn't actually get put out until Halloween day, obviously. This is my front parking pad. I used these stanchions to block it off so nobody could walk in there. I loved those. That was an excellent project that I did this year. Super happy with it. I was kind of afraid with all the rain that this wouldn't work, but it did. So I've got my projector in here, just projecting on this outdoor screen that I bought, and it's weighted down. You can kind of see over here with, I just bought bags of gravel and threw on it. But it had been raining. I was putting all this stuff out in the rain, so I would have liked to have covered it up, made it a little more discreet, but didn't have time. I also wanted more zombies. I mean, I have my zombie here on a motorcycle, and I wanted to put the windows down in the cars, have a couple of zombies in this one, a zombie driver over here with those lights that I bought this, or not bought, but that were given to me. Actually, we did buy a couple of them, but have the lights changing so you could see them and they light up. I really wanted this to be a heavy zombie area, but didn't work out, so maybe next year. But this was an excellent clip we just sort of found, I'll say, on YouTube. It was just kept streaming trailers. Well, not streaming, but looping. Not even looping. Okay, let's start again. It was just trailers of horror movies. We actually had it loop in our... I don't remember what we put here in the... Because the projector's here. It's in a box. I think we used an old iPad or something to loop the projection. So we just had it looping on the iPad, I'll say. I don't think it was an iPad, but something like that. I was hoping you could see real quick the window there. It looked like it was off. It had that the bulb that short circuits and goes on and off. Now here is my sign for the drive-in, which I was in love with. I spent a lot of time painting this, and I didn't obviously want to put my black light, which makes it glow in the dark, in this box, but since it was raining, I really wanted to incorporate the black light as part of this structure I built to hold up the sign. But it turned out really well, even out in the rain, because I had to put this out over a week in advance just because it was going to be so hard to do, and I wanted to get people kind of excited about what was going to happen here on the parking pad. So I did waterproof it with some water sealer, but some of the paint still is kind of like rubbing off. Like you can see, it's very splotchy in this yellow area here, which wasn't quite so splotchy when I finished it. But I really loved the way this turned out. I used a couple of real-life drive-in signs for inspiration, and you can see them on my Instagram if you're interested in checking it out. But when I assembled this bottom section here is one piece, and then this is one piece, and then this is one piece, so it could disassemble for easy storage. But obviously I don't like to do the same thing a couple of years in a row, so I am going to take these pieces off next year and just use this section probably for my movie theater that I might be making next year. But anyway, so I didn't have a chance to really cover this box up. So it has this weird unnatural glowing box here on the street, which wasn't thrilled about, but didn't hate it. Nobody really noticed it was kind of behind the cars. So there's one of the zombies that I had out here. Again, I would have liked to have several more. Then as we make our way over to the driveway, you can see the blinking lights. Everybody loves the lights that go down the driveway. I don't know, I always get compliments on it. The spider there was great. The large spider here was, let's just back up just a little bit. I thought this was fun. Usually you can kind of see I tether it to the structure of this canopy room, but this leg kept just falling off, and then the guy would kind of fall over. I had to fix him a few times. I ended up tying it to both sides of the canopy, but it still kept doing it. So eventually it got it as good as I can. But when you walk through this again, because we have to use our driveway, I put this whole thing up Halloween morning, and this was like the last thing I did, so it didn't turn out quite the way I wanted it to. I bought so many bags of spider webs. I wanted this room to just be like covered in spider webs, so that didn't happen. But I did have my toxic barrels. The other thing I wanted to put in here that I didn't get to do was I wanted to have leaking pipes, so it looked like there was toxic goo leaking down, making like a fountain out of it. Maybe that'll be something next year, because I'll probably expand on this next year. I really like the toxic theme, but I won't do toxic spiders next year because obviously can't do the same thing. This guy too, you may remember I bought, he was a deal that I found on Facebook Marketplace that would not go up and down because he's got broken gear inside of him, so I never got a chance to fix that. That'll be on my to-do list for this year. But one thing that I really liked out of this that you can't really see in the video are the lights that I put inside the barrels. I took regular strobe lights. I bought from Amazon some green film that you can put on lights, and it gave it a nice green glow. And when they're all glowing together or blinking, it was a fantastic effect that you just can't see in the video. And people were legit afraid of this room, and they would walk around through the yard just to go around it. Here is my corpse that I bought, that rocking mechanism, But, I put him up and I realized I never put batteries in him. And this was like one of the last things I did. So I didn't even have time to go get batteries, put him in. So he just was a hanging corpse, and buying that whole rocking mechanism was a waste. But my jumping spider, which is right here, would catch a lot of people as they walked in. And that, surprisingly, was a very effective prop. And then you can kind of see, I just put up, since I didn't have time to do spider webs, I put up these little door posters that I have of some toxic zombies or whatnot, and do not enter. But I kind of put spiders here and there. That one kind of fell over. And I've got this string so people would walk through and it'd be kind of like string hanging down from this spider. That was okay. It was a nice effect, I think. Again, another toxic guy. I would have preferred, again, the spider webs, but what are you going to do? And I spent so much time covering, extension cords are all over the place. So I was taking connections and making sure that they were dry and putting them inside Tupperware containers. It was a whole effort to deal with this rain. So one other thing is leaves got all over everything. If you watched my daytime walkthrough, all these things were covered in leaves. Thankfully, I had one volunteer helper come who kind of helped brush off all the leaves off these things, so it was a little more effective. But speaking of volunteers, we had a Halloween party for the neighborhood. They come, they bring their kids, they have pizza, a little fun, and then they go trick-or-treating together. Well, we asked for volunteers this year because I wanted to have, help people to help, like with the party games and whatnot. We even said, be good for teens who are too old to trick-or-treat. Not a single teenager volunteered. I got one nice older lady that came and helped, and she was fantastic. So I thank her for that tremendously, but I was really surprised that nobody volunteered to help. So got lots of the ghost inflatables. They took so long, so much longer than I thought to put into place. I would say it'd be, if I got one up every 10 minutes and there are, 20 inflatables, that's 200 minutes just to install all the inflatables, which is not fun. But here's my archway, Body Creek Cemetery. Now, these things are made of cardboard, so I had it out a little bit in the rain. Thankfully, it's not really cardboard, it's those sonotubes you can get from Home Depot. So they're a little stronger than cardboard, but you can already tell like the bases are kind of collapsing a little bit from getting, waterlogged. So I'm glad the rain stopped because I really didn't want to leave these out in the rain. But again, these were something that I have to build Halloween morning to put these up. So it's always a fun challenge. We lay all the lighting in advance and I get it all ready. And then Halloween, I just have to throw these in place, put my PVC arch together, run the lights across because they're all connected. The lights all start in the garage here, come all the way up the driveway, over the arch, because if they're not connected, and from the arch here it goes down on this side and then up this side, they won't blink at the same rate, but once they're all connected they will, which was great. Again, Body Creek Cemetery, which really that sign should have been over here since the cemetery is on the area we're walking through right now. This sign says cemetery, faces the other way. These fence pieces usually are connected to the pillars here. This time I didn't even bother. I just threw them so they're sitting there right next to it. It gives it more of a dilapidated appearance, so I thought that worked out just fine. This is actually my neighbor, and she helps scare the kids a lot, which was kind of fun. Tried to blur out some of the pictures of these people, but as we walk down, now this was, again, another last-minute rain concession. Normally, we'd have the tables all set up here in the driveway, but because of the rain, we bought these party tents, so they kind of form an L here. They're both 10 by 20. They're only about $116 each, and they have walls with windows and then a couple of flat walls too, which was nice. So again, though, it rained most of the day. These kept filling up with water, and we had to keep pushing the roof off to dump all the water out. I was so afraid if people were in here while it was raining and we have to keep dumping the water off, it would soak people. But didn't really end up needing them because the rain had stopped. However, we did need them because we have a big tree here that drops acorns, so shielded people at least from the acorns. But I did push all the tables under the awnings, the canopies, whatever, which was fine. But we bought a couple of stand-up tables, high boys, which are in the garage. You'll see it in a minute, but they were supposed to go out here too. So we didn't end up putting all the tables out, but I think it worked out well. It seemed pretty roomy, but this wasn't at all what I wanted this to end up being. We kind of passed, you'll probably see it again when we walk back up, but we passed a bunch of pirate ship inflatables, which I kind of wanted in the corners of the driveway. This archway was supposed to be here as a focal point at the end of the driveway with this captain right there coming up. There's like stairs here that lead down to the backyard, so it's going to be him on the stairs with the archway around it. This guy, which you can kind of see over here, was hanging off the balcony, and I used all that big long creepy cloth that I bought to kind of go down here all down the balcony. So he still works. I mean, I ended up, again, Halloween morning, moving him over here so people could see him, but he wasn't very well lit, so he was kind of hard to see after all. But let's go ahead and move on in. But first, all right, so this wasn't here. I was starting to put things away, so that's kind of why that was there. But people could walk over here. This was my Home Depot pirate ship that I bought. I was so excited because we bought the display model, got a deal. It was half price. But he ended up crapping out, not working, partly probably because we took him apart, took the wheel apart, trying to get it to work a little bit better. And now he doesn't really work at all. So that'll be a project for this year to try and get him working. But I thought this was going to make a great photo op, but didn't get too much attention. But we did do a lot of the inflatables with the pirates. I think in the future I'm going to try and focus more on the regular pirates and a little bit less on the inflatables. I mean, I like the skeleton look. But people could walk over here. I did want, if you remember from my hauls, I bought a little remote control pirate ship and a little pirate like captain's wheel here. So I was hoping to get a volunteer that would stand here with that and help kids so they could play with the pirate ship in the water in my koi pond right here. But that didn't happen at all. You can barely see back here. There's my treasure chest that I bought and my mermaid. I forgot to light up the lantern that was supposed to draw attention to this. Another thing I wanted to do was put like a glow stick in with the jewels to give it kind of a glow, but again, that didn't happen either. Another pirate ship got put over there. Here was my fountain. I didn't get a chance to make a video on him, but I thought he turned out pretty well. Back over here at the party area. Just move into the garage a little bit. This Skull Island picture thing was supposed to be the focal point when you walk into the garage on the far wall where I had this Beware of Pirate sign you're going to see right there. That was supposed to be actually hanging on the garage wall, which fit perfectly. I loved it. I put it on chains. Anyway, didn't work because of the rain. So here was my tattoo station that we built this year. Not a single person used it. So that was a giant fail. But I think part of it too, I was intending to have it outside as well with a volunteer to help, help give people tattoos, but no volunteers, so that didn't happen. There was my wheel that I wanted to use for the captain or the remote control ship person. But anyway, I loved this giant picture. I ended up framing it. I love making these simple frames out of Home Depot molding. It ended up being kind of pricey because that's a giant picture backdrop fabric actually. So we spent a little bit more than Tom would have liked. I was kind of fine with it, but he was a little surprised how much money I was spending on molding. But I loved this picture. I thought it made an excellent backdrop. I thought people were going to take pictures in front of it. Nobody did. So that was kind of a waste too. Here was my Beware of Pirate sign. You can see it's got chains on the side because it was hanging from the balcony on the wall. It was a perfect spot for it, but didn't happen. So this was where I was going to have that treasure map here as well. The pizza came from Pizza Hut. Twice now, 2 years in a row, they've kind of messed up our order. Last year, we ordered delivery, but they ended up not having anybody to deliver it, so we had to go pick it up right as my party was starting. This year, it came 45 minutes early, which we'd already ordered it half an hour early just so that we could make sure it came on time or go pick it up if we had to. So it came 45 minutes early, and they didn't double cut it like we liked or like we asked them to do. So getting a little irritated with them, but we do like our Pizza Hut pizza. Reward signs, which were an Amazon purchase. I like them. I thought they worked well just going around, but especially in my jail that you'll see over here in a minute. I put some boards on this door, which you'll see here also in a second, but they kept falling off. So luckily those two stayed for a little while here. I also wanted to put in here that Target ghoul that like pulls the curtain back every once in a while. Again, no time. We kind of bit off a little more than we could chew, I think, this time. I really loved the way this fish net turned out. I put my little skeleton fishes in there and a couple of little mini mermaids, skeleton mermaids, that I don't think anybody noticed that either. Maybe they did. I didn't get a chance to see everybody. This was the candy station. There's a big candy bucket here, which you might have saw out on the table a moment ago. Cupcakes are always a hit. I had, I think, 6 dozen or so at the start. So my jail turned out excellent. Couple of things I forgot. I bought foot pads for these guys so that they wouldn't always be going, but kids could activate them. Didn't have time to put them on, so they were just again like a static prop now. This jail, I didn't get a chance to do a video on either, but it was so easy to do. It's just PVC pipe with T's, and then I also connected the bottoms and the top so it was a little bit more stable, and just blocked off this section of the garage. And then this backdrop, I made walls using this faux wood sort of plastic backdrop material. Added a couple of more of those signs, hung this little guy. He's kind of just on a bar here that I propped up there because we had to use the garage. This was, it's pretty easy to get through. We had this whole wall hinged, so I could pull this in. So over here is like my workshop area, and then these bars too were just could kind of lay the other way so that you could walk through and get to the workshop area over here. But the only thing that I wanted to do, again, that I didn't, aside from putting the foot pads on, which, by the way, I bought 2 from Spirit, 2 from Amazon. The Spirit ones were so junky, they barely worked. I don't know about the ones from Amazon. They're still in the package. Didn't get a chance to use it. I wanted to throw some creepy cloth on the bottom here and add a whole bunch of skulls that I had a bag of skulls. They ended up getting thrown under a table and not put out, but I thought that would have been a neat effect too. And then I think we'll just take a closer look here. I really loved the Home Depot pirates this year. They did a pretty good job. Little lingering shot here. This guy kind of made no sense. I mean, he had the telescope, but he's in jail. But I figured he's looking at that window on the opposite wall. Not the window, but the vista of the pirate ship. I thought this was hilarious. Beware ye who enter here, and then below it was the poop deck with my captain on the toilet. Nobody mentioned it, but I get a good laugh out of that. And then we had Pirates of the Caribbean playing here on just on the side. I like to have a little area for kids so that they can watch movies and whatnot. And then that's pretty much it. So I didn't get a chance to put out a lot of the props that I had, like in the pumpkin army area. I wanted to put out my pumpkin patch prowler and have him going, or even maybe that Reaper with the globe that had the rolling pumpkin effect. I thought that would have been kind of neat with all the pumpkins there. But just the rain just killed everything. It was just kind of a daytime shot of the mermaid since we didn't really get to see it at the night. I'm not sure how I feel about all the inflatables. I kind of thought I went overboard with the pirates for sure. I'm not going to do that again next year, probably. I thought I could get away with it with the ghosts with inflatables because obviously they look wispy and ghost-like, and I don't know. It works having inflatable ghosts. But it seemed to me like it was a bit of ghost overload. Or not ghost overload, just inflatable overload. So I kind of like it more with more realistic props. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do next year in terms of all these inflatables that we bought. I do think that they look pretty good though. And then the cemetery stones, some of these are on wood pieces because I used to weight them down when I had my cemetery up on the concrete area. But I found really with these, I could just use the stakes that came with them, just plop them in the ground, they were fine. This guy, before we pass him, I just wanted to point out, he kept falling over. I knew that was going to happen when we tested him. I don't know if there's some way to tether them together, but they should have been connected somehow because he just kept falling over. It drove me insane. More insane, I should say. I liked how this worked out with the ghosts and the spider archway. Since I have ghosts on this side, spiders on that side, it's like the perfect transition archway. Here, you can't see it hardly, but there is my Reaper that fell over. Almost all of my figures fell over. Disappointed. And it's very hard to get these guys straight. They wanted to keep leaning one way or the other. My Flying Crank Ghost, it probably needs a little more material here. So you can really tell her head is there, but there's a good effect. I didn't put her out last year. I put something else in the mausoleum, but I think people really like it, and I do too. Again, it's kind of more of a realistic old school prop. But again, I'm kind of surprised I didn't lose any of the tombstones with the wind, considering everything else that kept falling over. But they did pretty well, so I'm not going to probably bother trying to give them extra support in the future. Again, there's my, now I think we're just moving to pictures, but again, loved the Body Creek Drive-In. I think that got the most attention, but by the time it was dark enough to really see the screen, trick-or-treaters weren't really coming around. So I did blood splatter it a little bit, so in the daytime it had some visual, but it was a neat effect. That's why next year, again, I'm going to do maybe the movie theater in my garage, have a haunted theater. The lighting, the green lighting in here was awesome. And I guess that's pretty much it. The rain, so disappointing. But we got lucky the last few years in a row. We had perfect weather, so had to rain eventually. Hey, there's my Grim Reaper standing up. Maybe next year we'll get to put out more of the props. Hopefully it'll turn out. But I think overall it turned out pretty well. This guy, not sure how I feel about him. I'll have to do a video someday of this fountain. I thought he turned out, it was so easy to make. But that is it. All right, so that will do it. I know there's always 100 things that I want to say in these videos that never come to mind when I'm actually watching the walkthrough. But overall, I thought it was a good Halloween. I can't say it enough. I hate the rain. The rain just, threw challenges left and right, but we dodged them the best we could. And I think it turned out okay. We ended up having, I think, maybe about 50 people at the party. Usually, I think last year we had closer to 70 or so. So it wasn't a total failure, but I think the people that came really enjoyed it. And I hope you did too. So be sure to stay tuned throughout the year. I kind of gave you a hint already last year. I kept it a secret about my haunted drive-in theater. I know I kept posting progress pictures on my Patreon page, so patrons knew, but for the most part, I kept that a secret, which I kind of wish I didn't do. But this year I'll try and be a little more open, especially since I've already revealed to you that I'm going to try and do maybe a haunted cinema. So we'll work on that this year. Something to look forward to. But as for today, that'll be it. Stay tuned for more DIYs, product reviews, and so forth as we work our way toward next Halloween. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care and happy haunting.
Dead men Tell no